Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. We were going to be getting you ready for the NFL draft, and I think we still will, but we got some transfer portal news. We're going to hit the transfer portal siren right now because right before we started recording this deal, Tyler Buchner, Notre Dame's opening day 2022 quarterback, put his name in the transfer portal. Is this incredibly surprising? No, because Sam Hartman is a person who exists, and he transferred to Notre Dame this year. But this is a quarterback who looked really good in the Gator Bowl, who was, again, the opening day starter for Notre Dame last year before he got hurt. And if you need a quarterback and you might want somebody who can start right now, maybe this is your guy, Ari Wasserman and Scott Docterman.
Is somebody singing Sweet Home Alabama right now? That's what I
What's going on with Alabama? Like, what, they don't have a quarterback? They've got 3 players on the roster that could start, right? Like, why does everybody think they all stink?
Because Alabama would like to win the national title. So
I didn't know that being young was a disqualifier of that.
They just had a Heisman Trophy winner, and they want to have the best possible chance. So it doesn't feel like any of those people said, "This is my job. I'm taking it."
And then Tyler Buchner screams national title to you?
No, but he screams another option.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. Like, if I'm Tyler Buchner and I'm transferring, I don't want to transfer to a place that's got 3 other potential options.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, if you're Tyler Buchner, do you want to do that? Or do you want to go to, say, Auburn? You know, if Hugh Freeze tells you, we think you could be the guy. And I don't know that he'd say that, but maybe he would.
I think you look at offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees. You know, he has a history with him. Now, granted, Buckner didn't exactly light the world on fire in his 3 games. I mean, 55% completions, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but he has a solid background in the system. So I think he's got a real chance there.
My favorite thing about transfer portal quarterback situations moving forward is that there are going to be a ton of players who ranked – Buckner was a top 100 player, right?
Correct.
And the top 100 that have played sparingly and have been somewhat passed over or forgotten about, despite the fact that they've only played or started less than half of a season. And there's going to be a lot of speculation of new scenery. Can this person meet their potential, and how good are they? You know, and it's going to be this like slippery slope between top 100 player who hasn't gotten a fair shake and is actually really good and needs a new situation, or top 100 player who was misevaluated and actually isn't that good.
So and isn't the first one? Now, I don't know if he was top 100, but he was a
number 71 overall nationally.
No, I'm talking about Henne and Hooker. Wouldn't that describe Henne and Hooker?
I think that it would describe a lot of people.
Yeah.
And how do you sift through it if you're a program who has to take somebody? You know, that's the hardest thing. It's like, you go look, if you're Alabama or whoever could be in the mix here, do you go look at Tyler Buchner's first 3 games of tape and make a decision based on that?
No, you look at that Gator Bowl and you're like, you're our starter, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, to me, I would find it very alarming if none of the 3 players that we are talking about with Alabama were good enough to put this team in a position to win.
Are you adding Dylan Lonergan to the mix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just making sure.
Just like they recruit wasn't Ty Simpson a 5-star recruit?
He was. And Eli Holstein, I believe, was Eli Holstein ranked higher than Dylan Lonergan?
They got 2 quarterbacks in the top 100 last year.
Well, they got 2 quarterbacks in the top 100 this year.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They've got, if you add Eli Holstein into the mix.
Yeah.
You can't find a starter at Alabama with those 4 guys, and what are we doing? And you need Tyler Buchner to come save the day? That means something went terribly wrong.
Well, I think the connection that's being made there is the offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees.
I know, but the Alabama discussion was happening before this happened. We were talking about Tyler Van Dyke.
You don't know that he's going to Alabama.
I know that. But why is Alabama a discussion 2 days ago?
Because they haven't decided on a starting quarterback, and nobody has just said, this is my job.
No, I know, but there's a lot of places that have ongoing quarterback battles.
Right, but where would you rather go to the ongoing quarterback battle where you might end up the starter? Alabama or those other places?
Like Ohio State and Georgia?
Georgia's is over. Carson Beck is Georgia's starter. Can we stop with this?
Well, Ohio State?
Ohio State's a different story. Maybe. I don't know. Are they in the market?
I mean, I don't know. Are they in the market any more than Alabama is? That's why I'm confused.
Well, there are schools in the market. And what's interesting is he's
Iowa?
Iowa. Cade McNamara, he's the guy.
You're going to run it up next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We will talk about that later too. But no, it's very interesting because this is not the first time somebody who was a starting quarterback at Notre Dame, who isn't the starting quarterback anymore, left. And remember Malik Zaire in the transfer portal?
Yeah.
Well, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? He goes to Florida. He sat behind Austin Appleby, who was a Purdue transfer. Like sometimes these guys didn't win the job, and they didn't win the job for a reason. But in Buckner's case, he did win the job. He got hurt. They recruited over him a guy who is much more accomplished in Sam Hartman. So I can see where if you are in the market for a transfer quarterback, you see upside. You absolutely see upside.
Man, I don't know. That's a lot to risk based off his play last year. I mean, I know he had a fun Gator Bowl, but he also threw 3 interceptions.
It's no risk at all. If he's not good enough, you just don't play him.
I meant it's a risk for him. I mean, to go to a place like that. I mean, God, if in every one of his games, he was less than 60% completion. So, I mean,
hey, can I invite you guys into the booth for Ari's game show right now?
Yes.
If you had to pick okay, I don't know if this is actually a game show or not, but you tell me, with all the information that you have about Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe, Eli Holstein, and Dylan Lonergan, and Tyler Buchner, if you were the new head coach at a emerging program and you needed a starting quarterback and you had to pick one of those 5 names blindly to lead you, is the answer Tyler Buchner ever?
No.
I don't know. I don't know if any of them are any good.
I know, but I'm just saying blindly pick your guy right now. Yeah. Do it. It's a podcast.
Here's a better one. If you're the coach at Alabama and you have those 4 guys already, do you add another one? No, you probably don't.
I don't understand the application of it. And it's like
you keep applying it to Alabama. I don't think that's where he ends up.
Okay, thank God. I just don't understand why we're talking about Alabama.
Because Tommy Rees was his offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees is Alabama now.
I know, but was Tommy Rees Tyler Van Dyke's offensive coordinator?
Tyler Van Dyke didn't go to Alabama. He stayed at Miami.
But it was a discussion before it happened. I just don't know why we're even talking about it. And I'm not saying it's wrong that we're talking. I mean, like the world is talking about it.
Because Alabama has had their guy for a while. Like it's been a while since we didn't know who Alabama's guy was. And the fact that we don't know who Alabama's guy is right now, we don't know how to process that and handle it. But the fact of the matter is it's probably one of those 4 guys. It's probably not somebody else.
They've had 3 straight first-round draft picks, and the guy before that just became the richest player of all time. So the fact they have no idea who the guy is, and I can understand them kicking the tires on a few of these, Tyler Buchners. But I also think they should look at who they have and say, can one of these guys shape into a star? Let's take Alabama out of the equation. Let's pretend they don't. Tommy Rees and Tyler Buchner don't know each other. And that's not a possibility. What schools are possibilities? Like, who do you think would reach out to Tyler Buchner in this situation? Would it be Auburn, Florida? Who else wants a QB right now? How's Arizona State feeling? How's Kenny Dillingham feeling about
Florida? QB? Florida is always the one that jumps like right into the front of my head. But like, I just don't know what the feeling around Mertz is there. I think they like him. I think they like him. I don't think they're over the moon. Like, I don't think they feel like they've got a guy who's going to win the SEC, but I think they like him fine. And they feel like he can run the offense. Yeah. The funniest thing too, is like about Florida. And then I'll let you jump in, Scott, is it might not make sense if you're a quarterback to transfer in the fall anymore. Like if you go into the transfer portal and you go somewhere and then your school later on in the spring gets another transfer over you, like I think that being the last person to do it's probably an advantageous. I find it ironic that going through spring practice is still better than not going through spring practice. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go through spring practice and then get recruited over and then be stuck. But that's you got to bet on yourself in that situation. You got to think that you're going to be good enough to win the job. No, but inherently, most people that are in the portal are betting against themselves, or they lost already.
But that's the thing. They're not all Russell Wilson. They're not all Justin Fields, and we get confused there thinking everybody is. They're not. There's a reason they're in the portal.
I think at Florida, if you got Buckner and you got Mertz, it's the Spider-Man meme. It's looking at each other this way. I saw enough of Graham Mertz. One game, phenomenal. The rest of his time. And
I think Buckner might be a little more mobile, but other than that, you're dealing with a lot of the same thing. So, yeah, and the question is, we might be looking too high up in the Power Five. It might be somebody who's a lower tier Power Five school. It might be a good Group of Five school. You know, we're assuming a lot here.
I mean, it's a pretty big drop off from Alabama, isn't it? I mean, like when you open up with that, it kind of rewires your brain a little bit. But yeah,
but that's the thing. I go back to the whole Malik Zaire thing. Just because he's coming from Notre Dame doesn't mean that he's ready to jump and start somewhere else and be great. He might not be. So this is the crapshoot that is, like, we're about to watch the NFL draft where quarterbacks are the ultimate crapshoot. But quarterback recruiting is a pretty big crapshoot too. Like,
it is.
You just don't know who's going to wind up being your best guy unless it is, that one, one or two a year where you're like, yep, that's the guy. That's him. Like Jackson Arnold. He seemed like the guy when we got to see him play a little bit. Now, he's maybe not the guy this year at Oklahoma, but he looks like he can be the guy. So good luck to Tyler Buchner, who, by the way, says he's leaving open the option of going back to Notre Dame. And it sounds like Marcus Freeman's totally cool with that. So congratulations to everyone for handling this like grown-ups. It was great.
Man, that's like one of the only opportunities that's ever happened, isn't it? I mean, most of the time it's like, see ya, I'm going to go after somebody else.
Exactly.
It'd be like if you had a girlfriend that you were going to propose to, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to enter the transfer portal and I'm going to look around to see if I can find a better girl. But if I can't, I'm going to come back and marry you. Yeah.
Or slightly different. I'm going to be your backup in case the guy you're going to marry runs off with somebody else or breaks his leg or whatever. Because Sam Hartman's the starter at Notre Dame. Let us, again, reiterate this. This is happening because Notre Dame got Sam Hartman, who is a very accomplished college quarterback and very good, and he's the starter.
So the wife cheated on him in the dating scenario.
You gotta make Sam.
Sam's the good-looking man that came in and stole your girl. I mean,
very good.
He's a very attractive man. So.
Elias Gray in the chat. I like this QB rom-com plot. We do need a QB rom-com. We really do. Like transfer QB rom-com.
I mean, like we're like one podcast away from ranking the most attractive male quarterbacks in college football. So Sam Hartman would be in the top 5%. There's no question about it.
Didn't we do that when we didn't have the
I thought we did coaches
on? No, when we were driving around LA with Dan and Ty and Mina and Mike, we basically had that conversation without the recorders running.
Yeah, like is there a correlation between attractiveness and capability?
Yes, you have to be good looking to be a good quarterback.
Yes.
That's what we said, Scott.
Well, they got swag, but I think how you lose a quarterback in 10 days would double it.
And you might
wow. That is a deep pull from the rom-com vault, Scott. I am impressed. Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
One time
in Boulder, Colorado.
When I was in college, I went to the All-Star game for Major League Baseball with my girlfriend and her family. And it was in San Francisco. This must have been whatever year it was, 2007, 8, or 9. And we were sitting in the home run derby in the stands in left field. And sitting right behind us was Alex Smith from Utah.
Very good looking.
And I remember thinking,
number 1 draft pick.
That guy is super attractive. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I think she agreed with me.
Yeah, I think she probably
when's the last time the number
Johnny
1
Manziel
overall...
try to steal your girl one time in Vegas too?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's a...
All right,
he would have succeeded. He would have succeeded. I just think he had a lot of options.
So basically, we need to keep Britt away from Dak Prescott or any other quarterback she might run into in Dallas. Okay.
One Dallas Maverick did hit on her before we were before we were dating.
Dorian
And
Finney-Smith.
And I'm not going to tell you who it is because that's messed up. But let's just say she's 4'11", and these guys are like 7 foot, and it was just like a weird combo, I think, for everyone. But she liked the charismatic, chubby Jewish guy, and that's just her type. So, like, what am I going to do?
Dak Prescott's very good looking, Ari. I'm warning you now.
I know he is. He is very good looking.
All right, so we got to talk about
before you go, Andy. Has there ever been a number 1 overall pick that's walked across the stage at the quarterback position and been butt ugly? Like, has it ever happened? You don't even have to say anybody's name. Just say yes or no. Because I can't think of one time. Bryce Young's a really attractive guy.
How do we feel about Andrew Luck?
Not ugly.
When he started developing the Civil War beard, that kind of
exactly. Once he became Colonel Andrew Luck, it was a different story. All right.
Yeah.
We got to pause. When we return, though, we have another transfer portal conversation that we need to have. It involves everybody's favorite Deion Sanders because everybody's freaking out because the whole team is in the transfer portal. Everybody that you saw in the spring game pretty much in the transfer portal. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Do your financial goals feel out of reach? They don't have to be. With Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa Credit Card, you can start building credit with your own money through on-time payments and small everyday purchases like groceries, streaming, and gas. Members see an increase of 30 points to their credit scores on average. Chime reports your payments to the major credit bureaus and help you build credit over time, all with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. Start making your financial dreams a reality with Chime. Signing up only takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Andy. That's chime.com/Andy. The Chime Credit Builder Visa Card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying deposit required to apply for secured Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card. Based on a study conducted by Experian Credit Builder members, observed an average of 30-point FICO score increase after 8 months with regular on-time payments. Results may vary. See chime.com for details. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. That's chime.com/Andy. Get started. Takes 2 minutes. Chime.com/Andy.
Welcome back. So our friend Max Olson tweeted this out on Monday, and I think this number is still current. I don't know if anybody else has hopped in, so correct me if I'm wrong on this. 18 players from Colorado entered the transfer portal on Monday. 41 since Deion Sanders was hired in the transfer portal, including people they lost because they were out of eligibility or because they decided to move on before Deion was hired. 63 of the 83 scholarship players from 2022 have moved on. Now, we know that not everybody did this voluntarily. We know because Deion told us that this was going to happen. But are you guys surprised that it is this drastic?
Okay, so I'm workshopping a column that I'm going to write in the next few days, I think, with my editor.
We may have to workshop together because I've got something that I'm working on too. So let's make sure we're not doing.
Well, you get right away because you're
old.
You're
I understand.
You have Sports Illustrated covers on me. I'm not going to. But let me ask you this: does this, even though we knew it was coming, make you more, less, or the same confident that it's going to work at Colorado?
The same, because this is what I expected.
Scott?
Less, honestly. I mean, I expected him to turn it over, but I expected him to kind of at least hold serve for a year.
You expected this many, Andy?
Yes, they were 1-11. They were terrible.
No, I know. But
the object is to not be terrible. Like,
no,
I feel like people have forgotten this. Like,
well, here's the premise I'm getting at here. And then you tell me if you think I'm full of crap. Because like, I know that this is big boy football now. And you're playing for a coach that walked in the first day he met his team and made the Louis comment and talked about the portal. This isn't a surprise. But the thing I don't know is that if you treat this many people this way and things don't go well for you early on, if people are going to think, is he going to treat me like that?
100%. That will be a problem. And Deion will address that in recruiting by saying, I'm recruiting you, therefore you're good enough for me not to treat you that way.
But
Now,
I think everything that he does right now is cute because it's new and it's shiny and it's
this
different.
isn't cute. There's nothing cute about this.
But everybody is accepting everything that he does, no matter what he says or how he acts or whatever, because we're excited about the new shiny object. But if things go bad for the first year or two, and they could because their roster stinks right now, and I don't know what it's going to look like.
Goodwill. He'll lose all the goodwill.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I think you made this comment on the podcast the other day. Maybe I heard it somewhere else, or I don't remember. But Jim Harbaugh and the way that he acted when he first got to Michigan, and then things went bad, and then the guy just disappeared out of the spotlight. Is Deion Sanders capable of disappearing out of the spotlight? And if things go bad, will he continue to act this way or be able to act this way and like be successful?
No,
because like there are people who are like,
this won't work. If things don't work, the act won't work. It has to be successful.
But nobody's expecting it to work immediately. So my question is, knowing how long it takes to turn over a team for the most part, and I know in the portal era it's much faster than it used to be, but we all are not assuming that Colorado is going to flip 48 players or 46 players off of its roster, go get 46 awesome ones and win the Pac-12 this year. They're going to stink this year probably. If they stink this year and then they start off next year stinking, what does that leave for? Like, I think that we are walking a tightrope of this better work or it's going to be a disaster.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's the whole point. It better work or it's going to be a disaster. Now, the column I'm working on is this. No one has been more outspoken than me, maybe Dan Wetzel, about giving players more money, giving them more freedom.
Yep.
But there's a flip side to that. And it feels like everybody's forgotten that. You're supposed to be good. Like, you have to still be good enough. Yeah. And people are acting like it's weird that he's flipping this roster that got smoked in just about every game. Like, their job is to be good. If you're gonna take advantage, and like revenue sharing is gonna come in. You have all these NIL, opportunities now. If you're gonna take advantage of that, you have to earn the spot you have.
Andy, if we're going to completely redo a house, a remodel, just start it, you don't strip it all the way completely down if you're going to live there. What you do is you do it in a couple of rooms at a time. And then by whatever period of time, 3 years down the road, you feel like, okay, now I've got a great house.
Don't Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter count as a really nice kitchen right now?
Maybe the island in the kitchen.
I'm just living in the kitchen.
It's a nice island.
I'm just living in the kitchen.
You could put a mattress on those granite countertops. I think.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm thinking right now. That's exactly right. But
also, we're not sure if Shadur Sanders is really that great.
Yeah, we don't know that. That's true.
We don't even know if he's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We know that Colin Schley operated that offense really well last year for Sean Lewis, but he's at UCLA now. So
I just think it puts all the onus on the players themselves and not bad coaching. And that's what Colorado had too. So 63 of 83 is an obscene number. And now you basically unshackle the sport and say it has nothing to do with academics because APR is a disaster based on this.
That's the thing is have they considered this? And I think here's what happens, because this is what schools always do. When it's advantageous to them, they change the rules. So they'll just go, we can't do APR anymore like this. We can't have APR penalties. And we got to change this. This is a byproduct, by the way. Letting these schools flip rosters like this is a byproduct of changing transfer rules, giving the players the opportunity to. And I understand that. I don't have a problem with that, because when you change the transfer rules, you did give the players a significant amount of power. Because if a roster decides they want to blow up a program or blow up a coach, all it takes is a bunch of them hitting the portal. And they've blown up the program. So you've got to be able to refill it if that happens.
Miller Cunningham in the comments goes, Ari, if you thought you could recruit quality recruits, would you do it the same way? And, I probably would. I'm not saying that what he's done is the wrong avenue. Like, if he can get 46 players out and bring in 46 better ones, then their team is better. And Andy's point is a good one to the other side of that, of like, if you are going to get NIL deal and you're going to get transfers of more power, then maybe you do a or you put yourself in a position where you're exposed to this type of thing, right? Like it's becoming more and more the professionalization.
I mean, I feel bad.
I feel
bad if Karl Dorrell went into somebody's house and said, "I'm going to take care of your boy for 4 years," and the people bought it. Like they didn't look at what was going on at Colorado versus other programs in its league and go, "You know what? They ain't very good. They might fire this guy."
Yeah.
But 76 young men got whacked. I mean, it's like they didn't
all got whacked. There's a few who took it the other way. Like is it Montana Lemonis Craig, the wide receiver who balled out on Saturday? He jumped in the portal too. Yeah, he jumped in the portal too, and it sounds like he's got some options. So he went the other direction. I'm sure Dion would have loved to keep him, but he looks so good on national TV that there's a bunch of programs that are a lot better in Colorado right now. They're going, "Yeah, you come play for us."
Well, let me ask you this too. Dion Sanders to the normal person is likable, right?
I think
is he a likable? There's a lot of people who don't like him. Yeah. But I wonder if he's veering. If like, what happens if Dion Sanders becomes unlikable across the board?
Then they'll fire him. Like, why are you making this so complicated? This will work.
I know they're going to fire him. I'm saying like we're all bought into what's going to happen there. Yeah. I know what the answer is if it's terrible. I'm wondering if he becomes unlikable, he might get fired sooner. Like, I think that everybody,
if this doesn't work, they'll fire him. If this works, he will get more money or get a better job. Like, none of this is complex.
Part of me, and I think I'm the problem, has like not considered the fact that this could be a dumpster fire. Like, I was like, so
that? It's like 50-50, buddy.
No, I know, but like of course I've considered. I just mean like we're talking about everything that he's done in the first, few months of his, job there. He's gotten better players. He's gotten people to fill up the stadium. He's done all these things. But it's like we've bought so much into the idea of like Dion being worth it and changing the culture and all this stuff that like it's almost hard to picture a scenario where things just go completely off the rails. And then this happened on Monday, Tuesday, and then that brought it into more focus for me of like this is a tough path.
Gonna happen?
I knew it was going to happen to a certain extent. I didn't know that 75% of his roster was going to leave. 75.
1-11. Why would you want that roster?
No, I know, but it's a lot of people. And it's not like the guy's going out and like lighting the world on fire and recruiting. Like he's done some good things, but it's not like he's signing an Alabama class. It's like I don't know what's going to be coming in.
Alabama class. He has to sign a Utah class.
Yeah. Well, and he has to replace these players through the portal now.
Correct. And that's the challenge. That's where he better have a plan.
Well, here's the problem. If he would have done it in half, if he would have had 30 out this time, 30 out in November, December, that's fine. But what happens when all these portal guys, that half of those aren't any good because they're just everybody else's?
Because we're just assuming that everybody who's coming in to replace the guys who left are going to be awesome. And that's a bad assumption.
Well, this is the problem. And we've talked about this. The people in the portal in this window, for the most part, are not quality Power 5 starters. They're not. Like, there's a reason they're in the portal right now. Now, are they better than that? Here's the operative question, though. Are they better than what left Colorado? Because if they are, whether they come out of the FCS, the Group of 5, or the Power 5, then he's done his job. If they are not, then he is on the road to disaster.
I just think you got to build some sort of continuity, even with the guys that are there. Even if they're not very good, at least you have spring.
Should Lincoln Riley have gone slower with his roster flip? Because it certainly seemed like it worked.
Not 63.
How many people
USC had some good players already, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Colorado didn't.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why Scott and I are kind of blown away by it is because, like, we know that you can flip a roster. I know that it's kind of happening a little bit at Auburn. Like, every coach that comes in that has a roster that he needs to flip is going to flip it. Andy, you got to acknowledge the fact that 63 players is an absurd undertaking at any given time. It is
incredibly absurd.
Yeah. And also, I'm not even sure it's a practical thing because I think if you do it too much, the prospects or the likelihood of improving are lower than if you do it slower. And by slower, I mean maybe 25 at a time. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying do it one at a time. Yeah. I'm saying
if you're
45.
Dion, this is what I'm going to say if I'm Dion. Those weren't my guys. You're my guy. Whether that's true or not, another story entirely. But that's what he's going to say. But here's where you guys are right. Here's where the problem lies. I don't know that you can build a deep enough roster flipping this fast.
What is their scholarship count right now?
It's
How many?
In the 20s. Well, no, it's not in the 20s. I'm sorry. They have brought people in, but it's not. It's in
the 40s, I think, right?
Right. It's not in the 70s. It's not. Yeah. It's not just a few away from being full. They are going to have to do a lot of work with what's in the portal right now. And that I agree with you guys. I don't know how deep a team you can build that way.
And I also don't know, like, Max would be
now.
a good person to ask this, but like, what's the quality of the portal now in comparison to the quality that happened in the fall at the end of the season? It's lower, right?
It is lower. We talked about that when Max came on the other day. Like, it's you had more legit starters. Now, the question is, how much of this is bait? Like, if you are a group of 5 starter and you think you can go start at Colorado tomorrow, do you now jump in the portal?
Well, you could, but there are other teams.
Well, yes, and the other part of that is, do you want to give up what you got right now? This is the part people don't consider with wherever anybody is, regardless of group 5, power 5, whatever names we want to put on it. There are a lot of people who are happy where they are. They're starters. They like the people they're around. They like their coaches. They're not going anywhere. So you can say, well, why wouldn't you leave that place? Because you can go play for Coach Prime at Colorado. Well, maybe because you're happy where you are. So that's the trick is, can he get enough people to have a better roster than he would have had if he hadn't done this? And we do not know the answer to that until we see what the product is on the field.
And I don't know how he's going to recruit regionally with this approach.
Oh, I don't think you can.
Because Utah will say, look what he's done. He's ran off everybody. He'll run you off too if you're not a starter first day. They usually have to recruit against probably some Mountain West teams for lower end part of their class. All they'll have to say is, look what happened to all these guys. And so they're going to have to recruit nationally. Well, Colorado is a neat story today, but when they go 1-11 or 0-12 this fall, are they going to be able to go into Southern California or go to Florida or go anywhere just because it's prime Texas? Are they going to be able to get anybody, or are they going to have to battle G5 teams for?
But I think that's the thought process of, like, they can recruit nationally with Dion. Like, I think that people think that is something that's going to have staying power, and that's the thing that's concerning to me. I feel like, like with Kenny Dillingham, for instance, like ASU could stink this year, and I could still like buy into the vision of the plan. I think Deion Sanders' runway for success or early returns is kind of lower than it is for other guys. Like, it's a process to build a program and to restore a program or a home, as Scott put it. But for whatever reason, or not for whatever reason, the reason is that Dion is such a loudmouth about it. I think that people are anticipating that Colorado's turnaround is going to be quicker. And if it's not quicker, are we going to be down for the fun and games in 2 years if it's just a shit show?
No, it has to be better. It has to, or it will all.
Like, what
fade.
if he's 4-8 in year 2? Like, is it just over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you saw it with Harbaugh firsthand. He was not 4-8. He was winning 10, 11 games.
Good right away. Yeah.
Yeah. And still that act wore thin very quickly. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that they moved forward. Dion can't afford that because at least they had, they have a program in place to get decent to good talent. Colorado doesn't have that mechanism.
And Dion doesn't have the runway that Harbaugh had either. I don't think we've talked enough about how incredible it is that Harbaugh turned it around, because I thought it was done.
Yeah.
Like, after year 5,
but remember, Ari,
he won't be the head
was
coach
good for a few years before 2020 happened. Like 2015, 2016, they were good.
Yeah, they've had good teams, but it never was the prophecy of what was supposed to be fulfilled at Michigan is what happened the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So they were always 10-2 or whatever, and they were always pretty good, but they never were what they were supposed to be. And that's why he got raked over the coals. But the fact that he broke them through after 5-6 years of being not that promise is tremendous. Now, the thing I'll say is Dion won't be the head coach at Colorado in 6 years if this happens to him.
No,
one way or the
probably
other.
Won't be.
Yeah,
probably won't be the head coach of Colorado in 6 years if it works the way he wants it to work.
Yeah.
So that's the show, guys.
Yeah.
That's the show.
Yeah.
That is what we're watching for. That is why we can't turn our eyes away. That is why whenever we write Deion Sanders' name in the Athletic, the traffic goes boom.
Mm-hmm.
People want to see him succeed or fail. And he's doing it differently than other people have done it. So they want to see if he can. He's doing it with, a very unique style. And that's why people are interested. But he told us this was going to happen. And now we're acting surprised that it is. But Ari, I'm like, it didn't occur to you that this might not work before this?
No. I was so on the hype train of believing it was going to that I lost sight of the other side of it. And then when this happened, it came back into focus.
Yeah. This is a high wire act. Like it will either work very well or fail spectacularly.
Which is crazy because they're over under in Vegas right now for season win totals is like 5.5. So
look, if you go from what they were last year to 5 wins, that's a hell of a job. It's a hell of a coaching job.
Yeah, no question. Especially with this. I mean, I guess I get trapped in the human element. Maybe I'm just an old dude, but when I start to look at, 63 guys gone, I'm thinking, what about college? But again, I'm trapped in the old days.
I think people get too precious about all that stuff. Like if you are like me and you wanted the players to get more and have more freedom, there's a backside.
Well, it's like what you said, Andy. It's like if you were somebody who clings to the old days of amateurism and college football and all that stuff, then they're in that same viewpoint. You're also somebody who thinks that the prospects and the recruits and the players are treated to a certain standard. But if they are compensated now, then if you're going to let go of the compensation aspect of it, then you got to let go of how they're treated because it's all a new ball game. And Scott, I love you. You're not old. You look great to me. Great head of hair. But it's just kind of like you just got to accept that it's different now. Because like if this happened in 2008, this would have been like a disaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it couldn't have happened in 2000. Well, it would have been a disaster. And the thing is, all the criticism would have been very valid because all the players who got forced into the portal would have to sit out a year before they played anywhere else. Mm-hmm. They would have been blamed for this. They were like, "Oh, you selfish guys selfish guys trying to transfer." Like, it's only recently occurred to the average fan that the coaches might be pushing some of these guys out.
Yeah.
It's always been that. I guess to me, it's the big number. It's 63. If it was 33, that's the cost of doing business. 63 is the one that gets me.
You want to hear another Colorado-related 63? That's how many points they gave up to Utah last year. Deion's job is to beat Utah. They lost 63-21.
That's a nice little transition there, Andy. That's grade A podcasting. I'm proud
How
of you.
About that?
You want to hear another 63? I was like, wow, that one hit me deep in the plums, I'll tell you.
But yeah, that's his job. His job is to beat Utah, not lose 63-21 to Utah. So
also keeping very good track of who comes in now is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. And look, this is a game we can play with other programs too. Like this is something Texas A&M, Florida, we've seen both those programs have a bunch of guys going to the portal. They've not taken as many guys out of the portal as hopped in. And the question is, are they going to start and get to that number, or are they not because they don't feel like the players that are available are good enough? Because I feel like that's an important piece of all of this. And with Colorado, it's probably even more important because it comes down to fielding a 2-deep versus having some depth.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I'm just saying that the intangibles of when you have teams like this, that the older guys who are still around, who maybe aren't that talented, but will still kill for that program. And they said, this coach made me feel like I was wanted, that now it's just down to this. I mean, we've saw it I remember with Penn State when Bill O'Brien got there, replaced Joe Paterno.
Nobody left.
I think there was one or two. I mean, I remember Illinois with
Silas Red left, and I think a kicker left.
Kicker left, which cost them early in the season. They lost like 2 games because of bad kicking. But even Illinois with Tim Beckman, sending his coaches out to Happy Valley, and nobody left. And at the end of it, they put their names up, even on the jerseys, which they never do at Penn State. They put their team up on Beaver Stadium because they felt like Bill O'Brien embraced everybody. And I think that
what the difference was between that team and this Colorado team?
They were good.
Penn State has
They
some
were
good
good players.
Yeah.
Like I listen, I'm not trying to be harsh. These guys were still better football players than me. But I've also been in the shoes of the guy who lines up against a real high Division I player and finds out why they didn't get offered a scholarship by that team. Like it's shockingly jarring how much better some of these guys are. Mm-hmm. And Deion's job is to beat those guys. Deion's job is to beat Utah, to beat Oregon. And you don't do that with what you had. You do that with something else.
I think they could end up like SMU in the late 80s.
Well, there's that game where Houston could have scored 100.
They scored 95 on them and got 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where they're headed this year.
Well, we'll see, because if they win 5 games,
I'm wrong.
They got to build a statue of Deion. Like it's all or nothing, baby. Yeah. All or nothing. All right. Now it's time to shift gears because Scott has been doing some very cool stuff. For those who don't know, Scott is a big time draftnik. He has handwritten charts. He's got studies that he's done of who's available, what teams need, who's picking where. And you've done a series this year where you have underrated prospects from each league. And I love this because this is one of those for us as college football fans, when we see those guys go on day 2 or day 3 of the draft, it's like, oh, I'm so happy for him. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad he wound up in that situation because he's going to be great. Like Brock Purdy's a great example of this last year. When you find out Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant, you're like, I love Brock Purdy. I hope he breaks that mold. And well, sure enough, he did. So I would like to start with a few guys that you've mentioned so far, Scott. And the one, we'll start at Brock Purdy's school. Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver from Iowa State. One of my favorite types of players. Here's what I love. I love a skill position player who's clearly the biggest threat on the offense. And everybody knows it. And defenses know it. And they gear up to stop him, and he still puts up numbers. That's Xavier Hutchinson.
He had an incredible year. He had more targets than anybody in the country, and more catches per game than anybody else in the country. He had 107 catches on a team that was equally as bad as their cross-state rival in offense, other than him. But he's, his drop rate was low, but he had 2 major high-profile drops. And then you start going, well, is he fast enough? Is he quick enough? Is he all this stuff? No, he's really good. He was a really good player for a team. And I think he's going to be a really strong 3rd or 4th round guy, and probably the 3rd, maybe 4th receiver for a team right away. And if he can catch the ball on 3rd down, I think he's going to be a heck of a player. So
another guy you had on your Pac-12 list, and you've got him going number 97 to the Commanders. And he's a guy, Noah Sewell, the Oregon linebacker. He's Penei Sewell's little brother. I'm fascinated by him. He was much better his first 2 years than he was his last year. I don't know if it was a case of not quite fitting in Dan Lanning's defense or if there was some other reason, but he's a big guy. He's like 250, but moves very well for that 250. I just feel like he's going to wind up, if he gets in a defense that's the right fit for him, that he could be really good.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a thumper. He's a 1st, 2nd down guy. Really big run stopper, kind of like Giovanni Tavai a few years ago from Hawaii, went to the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia loved him and, then drafted him too high, which is kind of the hallmark of ex-Belichick guys. But in this case, I think he could go right in, be just a killer. He's ultra competitive. Was he quick enough? Could he cover guys in space? That's going to be the determining factor, whether he lasts really long. But I think overall, you need a guy playing interior on 1st and 10, 2nd and 7 when there's not trips on the field. I think you're pretty good with him. And yeah, I don't know what happened to him. He was so good in that first year he was there, even the second year. But I still think he's a guy that somebody's going to take a chance on in that 3rd round, and he's going to be a good player.
It's another guy you're very familiar with. And so we were talking about the transfer portal and guys who jump into the transfer portal and maybe there's not the market for them that they think. Charlie Jones was a scholarship receiver at Buffalo, goes into the portal, does not like any of the action he's getting, and he decides to walk on at Iowa. Now, he didn't obviously end up excelling at Iowa because they're not great at getting people the ball, but he goes to Purdue and just blows up. This is a guy I feel like can really contribute because he can return kicks. He'll play on every special team. Like I bet he's one of those like sneaky favorite guy where he's like number 3 in jersey sales on his team in 3 years.
No question. He fits that stereotype of all those Patriot guys, Chris Hogan, Amendola, even to some extent Wes Welker, because he's just got all that factor. I mean, he's got a swag to him, no question. And to do what he's done twice, I mean, he bet on himself twice. As you said, gave up a scholarship to go to Iowa and walked on there and then ended up being the Big Ten Specialist of the Year, return specialist. He was a terrific punt returner especially, and good kick returner, and then decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Purdue because I can't get to the NFL at Iowa. Tipped the balance of power in that division, no question, and then ended up going to the Big Ten championship game for the 2nd year in a row, and ended up leading the country in catches. So I think even though he played outside at Purdue because they didn't really have anybody, but man, if you put him inside the slot and just let him just get 6 yards a catch and then return punts, yeah, he's going to be that guy that everybody loves because he's just a tough, hard-nosed kid. And again, bet on himself twice. He's going to do it again, and he's going to win again.
So the guy who threw him the ball at Purdue, Aiden O'Connell's another one. That's Dane Brugler, our draft analyst at The Athletic, says that beneath the Will Levis, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then Hendon Hooker, that tier, that O'Connell feels like the one everybody likes the most.
Mm-hmm. He's not only got the numbers, but he's been in a high tempo offense, but he's also played under center. He's played in a league where it's defense first, completed a lot of passes. You mentioned some of the dumb stuff that I do with this is I evaluated every quarterback since 1990 that went in the 1st round, and there's 85 of them. And I've graded them on, whether like
this
A plus is the, Hall of Fame.
Is this on our website?
No, this is just me being an idiot and sitting around the house doing nothing.
Don't you think this should be on our website?
Can you turn this around in like a day? Because like draft's on Thursday.
maybe. But, and then an A is kind of like Hall of Very Good, borderline Hall of Famer. B plus is a quality starter, kind of all the way down. And when you look at 1st rounders, it's really in 3 tiers. You've got your Hall of Fame / quality starters in one tier. You've got your guys who are journeyman, backup, just kind of guys. And then you got your failures, guys who got a chance, completely blew it and never really got another one because they weren't good enough. And then you got a couple of F minuses. And removing the 8 incompletes, which are the last couple of years, and Jordan Love, I had 28 guys that I thought were A-B range. I had 25 that were C-D, and I had 24 that were F or F minus. And so I look at the what we've got in the 1st round now, probably 5 guys. 2 will succeed, 2 will fail, and 1 might just be a guy. And so you're starting to look at the Brock Purdy's of the world. Well, I had a up close view of him for 4 years at Iowa State. Really good player. Did I expect last year? No, but I thought I always told like his agent, look, I thought he could be like Chase Daniel, spot starter, stay on with the team for 10 years or whatever. And Aiden O'Connell is in that ballpark, not the same player at all. And I think Stetson Bennett is that way, except I think he's got a little bit more upward sideways mobility on that one. But Aiden O'Connell is a really solid guy, very accurate, smart. He's a former walk-on, had to work his way up. He was in an intense competition for multiple years at Purdue, and then he produced. And this year he didn't have the receivers that he did last year. I mean, Jones caught a lot of passes, but he's not Milton Wright, who didn't make it academically, or David Bell. So I think he's the type of guy that you look at as, hey, we need a solid number 2. We need somebody behind Pat Mahomes, or you need somebody behind Josh Allen or something like that, who's going to go in, complete some passes, not lose you a game. And then, you never know. Some of those guys do come out and, not necessarily Brock Purdy, but other guys are like, Taylor Heineke or somebody like that. So that's kind of who I think, Aiden O'Connell is. And, out of the 4 quarterbacks I highlighted in this series, Stetson Bennett to me is kind of that +10, -10, where he could either, he went in there and he fought like a dog and he's a starter and he's not going to relinquish it, or he's going to flame out really quick. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I like him a lot. I would really like to draft him in the 6th round and see what happens in 3 years. And then Max Dugan is kind of that same way as Stetson Bennett. Tough, hard-nosed kid, kind of guy you want as your 3rd quarterback, I think.
Yeah, that's it. And the Chiefs thing's interesting because Chad Henne's retired. Mm-hmm. They need a backup right now. And, I wonder, do you choose, because Chad Henne, not that similar to Patrick Mahomes. Like, do you pick somebody who's more physically similar, or obviously they're not going to have the same athletic gifts as Patrick Mahomes or the same throwing gifts as Patrick Mahomes, but someone who's a little bit closer who you don't have to really change much of the offense for?
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you want somebody who can maneuver and move, or do you want somebody just to, hey, let's just get the makeables, get the ball to Travis Kelce, hand the ball off, don't make any stupid mistakes.
Yeah, Chad Henne won them a playoff game, don't forget.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah.
He beat Tim Tebow too.
That he did. That's how old Chad Henne was.
Yes, exactly. Back in the Capital One Bowl back in the day.
I was at the game.
Yeah,
that was my last game is the Florida beat writer for the Tampa Tribune.
One of my largest gambling losses of my career.
Oh,
that it's funny because that game was closer than I remember. I remembered that game as a blowout, and I looked up the score by quarters, and it was not nearly as big of a blowout as it felt to me being there.
It was a pretty big blowout.
Yeah, it's big enough for me. But it was like a 2-touchdown game, and then Florida scored 1. And
Florida was a 6.5 point favorite. I'll never forget it.
I don't know why. Oh no, it was 41-7. Never mind. Oh no, that's that bowl game they played when McElwain was at Florida.
Yeah, that was the other one. It was like 49-35 or something.
That's what it was. It was. I just felt like Florida was a lot farther away in that game being there. It felt like it wasn't that close. So, all right, gentlemen, we finish all our episodes now with trivia, and we did this yesterday. We did draft trivia. It was fun. I want to do it again until the draft. And so I've got a couple questions. One I got led to yesterday. We were trying to remember when Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson got drafted 1st overall. And in my looking up that number, I found something else that was very interesting to me. So I'm going to ask you guys this. I think Scott will get this. Who was the last running back drafted 1st overall?
Oh, same team, right? Cincinnati with Kajana Carter.
That's it. You got it.
I don't even know I'm still on the show, to be honest.
Penn State running back Kajana Carter. I thought you might. I figured you might get that, Ari. I don't know.
That was a little bit before my time, I think.
All right, here's a much more recent one. And I Scott, given your research, I think you're going to get this one. But I incorrectly listed a stat earlier in the pre-draft process where I said there had been no year where 4 quarterbacks went in the top 10. That's not true. In 2018, 4 quarterbacks were selected in the top 10. There was a 5th selected at number 32. That'll be the bonus if you get that one right. Mm-hmm. But what are the 4 quarterbacks who were picked in the top 10 in 2018?
All right. You want me to go or you want Ari to go?
I think I know the answers. So
All right, go for it, Ari.
All right.
I know Baker Mayfield.
That's
Yeah.
one.
Sam Darnold.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I remember Josh Allen was the same year as Baker, but I don't know if he was top 10.
Yeah.
Was he top
Yeah.
10?
Yes.
Yep.
He was like 7th overall.
He was number 7 of the Bills. Okay.
And then Josh Rosen was that draft.
Josh Rosen was number 10. Now,
And
who
I
was
think I
number
know who the
32?
32 was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he in the news right now for anything?
He's in the news all the time.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Think about that. So 5 quarterbacks picked in the first round, and it kind of goes right to your numbers, Scott. It's like a microcosm of your numbers. Two
Mhm.
very good starters, potential much more than that in Lamar and Josh Allen, and then Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. Not really much anything, and Baker may be a kind of journeyman, could be a quality starter. He did get the Browns to a playoff win. So, but yeah, it's almost what your system came up with in microcosm.
Yeah. I mean, you look at those guys, and yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson's got MVP. Josh Allen, I don't think does, but he's in that conversation after Mahomes and stuff, is one of the greats. And then Darnold, he's what, on his 3rd team now? Baker's on his 4th team. And Rosen is, I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. I mean, he's like 7th or 8th, but that's what we're going to look at out of these guys, these 5, because I think Hooker will probably make his way in.
This is the first round. That's like the biggest prop bet of the draft.
Yeah.
It's like over under quarterback selected in the first round, and like whether or not Hendon Hooker is drafted in the first round is going to make or break the bet.
I saw somebody this morning who said they put money on Anthony Richardson dropping into the 2nd round. I'm like, you are going to lose your money unless you know something nobody else in the world does. You're going to lose your money.
I think betting on Anthony Richardson to get drafted anywhere is just a losing proposition at this point.
Yeah. I mean, unless there's a gas mask video coming out.
You guys saw the grab ass with Will Levis on Tuesday morning, right? With the Reddit thing, and the gambling lines came off the board, and some guy on Reddit just said, Will Levis told me he's going to Carolina, and like it had a bunch of attention, and then everybody panicked and thought that Will Levis was going number 1, and then they release the lines again.
That strike me as something Will Levis would say to some random dude in the airport. Like, I'm going to Carolina, right?
It was like the GameStop of the draft. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Well, I guess he told his family, and somebody in his family told some dude who just then put it on Reddit. And yeah, I mean, but you look out of these guys and you're thinking, okay, Anthony Richardson to me is the greatest risk reward,
right?
And maybe in draft history. Because you look at even Pat Mahomes had a history, had a resume.
Pat Mahomes was really good in college. His defenses stunk. He didn't have any control over that.
Exactly. So you look at him and go, well, yeah, but and he sat out a year. But Anthony Richardson, you saw him up close. It's like, wow, and God.
They keep showing the Utah play, the 2-point conversion, and that's the one for me this year where I was like, oh, he's gonna win the Heisman. I was done. I was like, all right, he's gonna be great. And then the Kentucky game was the following week, and you're like, this is the same person?
Right.
Like, really? Okay.
Exactly. And so every offensive coordinator goes, man, if I could just mold this guy, we could have something we've never had before. And then if you fail him, it could be just a complete and utter flame out like Jamarcus Russell.
It's like the Deion thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rousing success or a complete disaster. All right, Ari, what do you have?
This is historical.
All right.
How many rounds was the NFL draft in its first edition in 1936?
Oh, now I used to go up to like 12. Like I remember when I was a kid, it was 12 rounds, and I'd watch the whole thing.
Scott, you're supposed to know this stuff.
First year, I want to say 20, but I'm probably wrong on that. I do know who went number 1 overall, and Jay Berwanger. From Chicago. He's from Dubuque, Iowa. So
the answer is 9.
9
rounds.
year.
Okay. All right. That's
all right. I'll throw one out there. And what round was Bart Starr selected when he was an Alabama Crimson Tide of the Green Bay Packers?
I want to say he was low. Was he a 12th round pick?
Getting there.
Oh, he's worse?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had a lot more rounds back then.
14th.
17th.
Wow.
Yeah, can you believe that? He was like one of. I mean, start going back through Alabama's history at quarterback. It's remarkable. And then you have, Ken Stabler was a second rounder. Joe Namath was a first rounder, and then you have Bart Starr, a 17th rounder, and they're all, Hall of Famers.
I got one more for you.
All right, let's go.
Who was the last number 1 overall pick to also win Rookie of the Year?
Ooh. This is tough.
I'll just throw out Peyton Manning.
Andrew Luck?
Nope. Cam Newton in 2010.
Okay. Yeah, I was close. Peyton had a bad first year because they were terrible.
They were 3-13. Yeah.
Yeah. I think didn't he set the NFL record for interceptions that year?
He had a lot. I don't know if he set the record, but he had a lot. No cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you got one more.
One more. Oh,
Okay,
I got one more too.
Oh, all right,
go ahead, Scott.
Oh, go ahead, Ari. Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons traded 3 draft picks for a player to the Chargers in 2001. Who was the player they were trading for?
I know this one. Timmy Dwight.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. Tim
It's
Dwight.
an Iowa guy. How about that?
Yeah. That turned out to be a great.
That's not it.
It's Michael Vick.
It's Michael Vick. Oh,
well, they got Michael Vick, but it was they traded the Falcons had to trade Dwight to the Chargers as part of that deal, along with first.
Oh yeah.
And then
they got
LaDainian Tomlinson, so it worked out all right for the Chargers. They got Drew Brees in the second round, so that worked out pretty well for the Chargers if they would have kept him. But
okay, Scott, you got one more?
Oh boy, let's see.
Just from the memory bank.
This is great. He's just pulling it straight from.
I'm over here on Google right now.
All right, how many teams have had first round picks since Iowa State's last first round pick in 1973?
How many different college programs?
Yeah.
So first overall, first round. Picks.
First round, yeah.
Oh gosh, 100.
I was going to say 96.
143.
Whoa!
And that also includes 3 that are defunct. A Canadian college, Queens,
Nice.
and none, which was Eric Swan. He didn't go to college. So he got drafted in the first round.
So what were the other schools that had football that don't have football anymore?
Tampa was one.
Freddie Solomon.
Yeah. Long Beach State. And then there was it was some guy's name. Oh my God. I got it written down here somewhere, but it's some guy.
Ross?
Yeah. It's like a D2 that folded football back in the day. And
so come on, Will McDonald. I mean, it's not Will McDonald who will draft himself. So come on, NFL teams who need an edge rusher. Will McDonald is right there for the taking. So Iowa State streak can be broken here.
Yeah, there's some people that are rooting against that, by the way. But it's Morris Brown.
Morris Brown in Moontown. No, Morris Brown's in Atlanta. Yeah. I'm thinking Robert Morris is in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. Exactly. Yeah, Morris Brown's in Atlanta. That is incredible. Well, Scott, you are a wealth of knowledge. If you'd like to stay up late and come join us after the draft, the first round on Thursday night, we'd love to have you.
I might. I'm doing the grades that night, so I'm gonna be doing pick by pick. So I'm actually writing small profiles on all for the first 3 rounds. So probably 120 guys. A couple of graphs on each one right now, and so then I can plug it in and try to figure out good fits, all that sort of.
See, I have to do it in real time. Yeah. So you got the job where you can do it all up front. I gotta do it in real time on Thursday night.
I'm gonna be in an Italian restaurant.
We heard. It's date night. It's double date night.
I have to get salmon without pasta or fried chicken. So
you do? Yeah. Is that a rule?
Just trying to lose weight, Andy. Just the glass box of trying to lose weight.
I feel you.
It's just like not even. What's the point of waking up? Honestly, you can't get you can't get veal parm at the best Italian restaurant.
Listen, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
I disagree.
All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Everybody, we will talk to you again after the first round of the draft.